Alrighty, Shalom. Before I start off this lesson, I'd like to first and foremost give all honor, glory, and praise unto our Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash. Double honor to our apostles and others, great millstones, taught us truth and rule well, and all the true leaders of the nation of Israel, which consist of so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, on down in the speckled bird, Israelite, foreigners scattered abroad. I'm the brother Shemaria, back with another update, okay? I'm just keeping you updated on World War III and biblical prophecy. All right, and as it stands, okay, there's been an ongoing conflict around the region of the Strait of Hormuz, okay, and dealing with this whole exchange between the U.S. and Iran. The U.S., all right, has conducted strikes 2 nights straight through, okay, ahead of Iran's pretty much unwillingness to negotiate peace. All right, so Salakia, this ended up being a part 2. So I want to just run down the U.S. and Iran tensions as of recent, okay? Just a little timeline, all right, leading up to now, okay? And every day is like this thing continues to get hot in that region, man, all right? And something that we've been saying for a while. All right, beginning with the other apostles and other bishops on down, World War III, okay? All these major end-time prophecies will come to pass, all right? And, of course, something we're keeping an eye on, too, are developments concerning the MOTB technology, all right? Which, you had Elon Musk come out and say that with Neuralink they can achieve quote unquote Christ-like abilities. All right, so that just goes to show you right there what they intend to do with this technology. The scriptures say that he calls it he deceives by means of those miracles. All right, which he had power to do, all right? Left-handed miracles through his technology, all right? So, yeah, before this thing can really kick off, the MOTB must be mandated, all right? It will be mandated, okay? But, just a quick overview, all right? A simple timeline of some of the major things that have gone on since, the U.S. had proposed a ceasefire with Iran. All right, so April 8th, that whole ceasefire began, all right, following, mediation efforts, okay? Sometime around mid-April, okay, the U.S.'s Navy, they started increasing operations around the Strait of Hormuz. All right. Now, Iran accused Washington of violating the ceasefire. All right. Those negotiations stalled over what? Sanctions, frozen assets, and Iran's military capabilities. All right, and you now see how these countries, they're not afraid of the U.S.'s military might anymore. So, May 26th, last month, you had a couple of incidents occur in and around the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, the U.S. conducted strikes against Iranian military and maritime targets. Iran, in response, all right, sent out missiles, drones, and took naval actions. All right. And both governments are accusing one another of repeated ceasefire violations because, the ceasefire supposedly still stands, all right? But they're not going to reach an agreement because Iran knows that the U.S. just wants their guard down, okay? So early, this month, okay, we're still, June 11th, all right? Sometime around June 6th, the U.S. had sent out strikes on Iranian coastal radar sites after, they reported drone activity near maritime traffic in the region, okay? Iran retaliated with missile attacks against the U.S. In the Gulf region. As of June 8th through the 10th, Iran and Israel exchanged additional strikes, okay? Iran was launching attacks at Israel, man. You notice they're going after them small hats in the U.S., man. And the U.S. is literally being dragged into a bigger escalation, man, which is in line with Jeremiah 50, Jeremiah 45, Salakia. The least of the flock being the small hats, those Amalekites, all right, are leading the U.S. into this Third World War. Okay. Iran attacked U.S. and allied facilities. The U.S. since then has threatened stronger military action if Iran doesn't accept terms under, their discussion for that ceasefire, peace agreement, okay? Which, again, Iran's not going to go for it because they figured you devils out, man, They're not going to, you're not going to reach a peace agreement, all right, because, Iran isn't going to be, isn't going to let their guard down. All right, because the most they'll do is, start a ceasefire, all right, and the U.S. and Israel will just come around and launch fresh attacks, all right? So June 10th, June 11th, all right, U.S. Apache helicopter was reportedly shot down. So that triggered American retaliatory strikes on Iranian targets. Iran launched additional retaliatory attacks against regional U.S. positions. This is according to Iranian sources. All right. See, Trump is bullshitting the people. Really, they're getting their ass handed to him. But Trump, he's sitting there and telling, people lies. All right. Trying to mask what's really going on. But by the looks of it, Trump is kind of alternating between threatening military action and claiming a peace agreement is close. All right, which that's got people coming out to pretty much talk shit. All right, and that's getting people riled up because they know that the longer these tensions persist in that region, all right, the prices on things are going to continue to go up, man. All right, and we can see how with this situation this can lead to not only prices going up, but also global food shortages. All right, and that's really to set up to starve these people out, right? And it cause chaos, because look at how Trump is talking, man. Trump is he's looking at the whole situation, and he's actually applauding the fact that inflation is even a thing. Let me just grab what he said. All right, because Trump is really showing his ass, man, and that's really how you know that this is truly the cruel Lord spoken of in Isaiah the 19th chapter. All right, where the Lord said he will give the Egyptians into the hand of a cruel Lord. Okay, these America's modern day Egypt, the American people, the Egyptians, modern day Egyptians. Okay, but let me see. And because there's been a handful of comments made by Trump in recent months concerning these very inflation, the hardship, people struggling to make ends meet. All right, he's making light of the situation and just laughing you people to scorn, man. So this is a headline from AP News. Trump has a new surprising take on the higher cost of living. I love the inflation. All right. Yeah, man, because they want to put strain on you American people. You had all these people buying into and you Jake should be ashamed, man. You niggas for Trump. All right, Latinos for Trump. You should be ashamed, man. All right? Because here it is, you bought into the whole MAGA campaign slogan. All right, make America great again. Which this is not your rest. Okay? America is our captivity. You shouldn't be looking to your enemy, all right, for help. Woe to them that go down to Egypt. So I'm going to read up a little bit on this. It says President Donald Trump on Wednesday showed how he had learned to stop worrying about inflation and simply, in his own words, love it. Asked about the new report that the consumer price index in May had jumped 4.2% over the last year, the president took a surprisingly optimistic tack with the challenging news. Trump didn't dismiss the affordability issue as a hoax that was started by Democrats, as he has done previously, nor did he claim that he was bringing down the cost of living. Instead, after the government said that inflation spiked to the highest level since April 2023, Trump praised the numbers. And these people haven't seen... Look, this is just the beginning. hyperinflation is a thing. Hyperinflation is literally, all right, detailed in biblical prophecy, man. All right, Revelation, the 6th chapter. Okay. Goes into that. All right. A measure of wheat for a penny, just a day's wages for bread. Okay, pretty soon things are gonna get to that point, man. You know. Yeah, you know, gas prices are shooting up. You know, $5 a gallon. But, you know, when it affects the food, man, it's gonna get to the point to where people can't afford, you know, any groceries. All right, like they can now, or could in the past, you know, decade or so. So, let me see. It says, instead, after the government said that inflation spiked to the highest level since April 2023, Trump praised the numbers. You know what I really love? Trump said, I love the inflation. It was an unexpected take, given that voters ahead of the November midterm elections have ranked the economy as a top concern and have given Trump low marks on that issue. Within minutes of his on-camera comment, Democrats quickly rushed to promote it on social media. See, Trump had pledged in his 2024 campaign to quickly vanquish inflation, but his argument now is that higher prices are solely a function of the Iran war raising energy costs. Well, no shit. You know? You know? On Wednesday, he claimed that relief is already on its way because of a secret military operation that had ferried what he said was 100 million barrels of oil through the Strait of Hormuz, the primary shipping channel for 20% of the world's global oil supply that has been effectively closed by the war since late February. See, so you already know. Any you know, further action in that region, the longer this sort of thing persists, the higher price is gonna go. You know? The reserves are gonna run up, okay? The shortages, you know, are gonna make, you know, famines a reality. All right? And, you know, just to show you how Trump is laughing at, you know, what he's doing, man. All right. But, as touching the whole, you know, Iranian conflict. All right. Real quick, bear with me a second. Salakia. Just looking something up real quick. And you know they've been bombing Iran for 2 nights straight, man. Okay, here it is. Trump is saying the deal is close after, you know, reneging on his threat of strikes. Look at this. This is from The Hill. Political commentator Bill O'Reilly on Wednesday claimed dismissed peace talks between the U.S. and Iran as a farce as the two sides resumed strikes this week. The negotiations are a farce. Everybody knows it. The American public knows it. O'Reilly told host Leland Vittert on News Nation's On Balance. So, you know, they know it's all bullshit. All right. They know it's all bullshit. They're gonna keep pushing, you know, these attacks on Iran. All right, and eventually, what, you know, the big players are gonna get involved, man. All right, Russia just you know, Russia might have its sights on that theater soon. Okay, more involvement in the conflict. All right, we already know what the scriptures say about Russia being the guard unto Iran, pursuing Ezekiel 38. All right. You know, Zelensky is actually proposing a ceasefire. He wants to reach a ceasefire with Russia. Okay. You know, we'll see how it plays out, but you know, a handful of UN nations are actually, you know, advocating for a permanent ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine. So, yeah, okay. President Vladimir Zelensky recently called for direct talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin and proposed an immediate ceasefire from the Institute for the Study of War. Okay. Leaders of the United Kingdom, France, and Germany have publicly backed and renewed ceasefire negotiations between Russia and Ukraine. From Reuters. Diplomatic efforts are continuing ahead of the upcoming G7 summit, where Ukraine is expected to remain a major topic. And they've exchanged prisoners. You know, kind of reminiscent of the Julius, you know, Caesar era of Rome. You know, when they would exchange, you know, prisoners. All right. After wars, you know. You remember what was written about of Antiochus IV Epiphanes. All right, during the Seleucid Roman Wars, they would agree upon the exchange of hostages. You know, so Russia and Ukraine have been exchanging hostages, and you know, Vladimir Zelensky, he wants a permanent ceasefire. So let's say, you know, ceasefire happens. All right. And you know, Russia may have its sights set on, you know, what's going on by the you know, that region over there by the Strait of Hormuz. Okay. But anyway, let me get a few scriptures and close out. This is matter of fact, I'm gonna get this. The book of Zephaniah 3 and 8. All right. Therefore, wait ye upon me, saith the Lord Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, until the day that I rise up to the prey. From my determination, all right, that word for determination in the Hebrew is mashapat, which means judgment, justice, okay, ordinance, act of deciding the case, plate, court, seat of judgment, because the Lord is the ultimate judge. All right. It says what? Proper fitting, measure, fitness, justice, right, rectitude, attributes of the Most High of men. All right, but for my determination is to gather the nations that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them mine indignation, which is righteous anger. So what's going on with the Strait of Hormuz, the tensions that are going on in the region? All right, you have these nations rising up against one another, threatening one another. Is all the will of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, okay? To gather these nations to war, all right? The Third World War, Battle of Armageddon, all right? Which is mountain of troops. As it says, for my determination is to gather the nations that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them mine indignation, even all my fierce anger, for the earth, for all the earth, Salak, shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. So this is all the will of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, all right, to lead these nations into war and to pour upon them his indignation, man, his righteous anger. In the midst of these nations fighting in that region, okay, the Lord is going to descend, in what the world Italy calls a UFO with an armada. And what? They're going to waste the heathens' armies over there in the valley of the Most High's judgment, okay, decision, Yahweh Shaphat. All right? So that day is near, man, okay? And this is all just a buildup. All right? So let's grab this, because this is all happening for the controversy of Zion, man. For what these nations have done to the Lord's people. It's the book of Obadiah 1 and 15. For the day of the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, is near upon all the heathen. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thine own head. Yeah, beginning with the so-called white man, Esau, Edom. All right. Your recompense will fall upon you. All right. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Who led us into captivity? Who killed us, by the force of the sword, man? All right. Esau's recompense will return upon his own head. The same for these other nations, man, which have all played in our downfall and oppression as a people, which have all led us into captivity. For as he have drunk upon my holy mountain, just dealing with those people, so shall all the heathen drink continually. Yeah, they shall drink, and they shall swallow down, and they shall be as though they had not been. All right? So all you heathen nations are going to have to drink of the Lord's, that cup. All right? But you're all going to go into slavery. All right? You're all going to go into captivity and be subject unto the nation of Israel. All right? In the kingdom of heaven. Okay? curses that were put upon the children of Israel for their disobedience to the ordinances of Yahweh Bashim Al Shai were said to return upon these heathen, man. All right? It says, but upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance, and there shall be holiness, right? Israel shall be righteous altogether. Okay? Upon Mount Zion, all right, which is dealing with the Lord's people, shall be deliverance, and there shall be holiness, and the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions. You see? The house of Jacob, all right, Israel, okay, the Israelites shall possess their possessions. The Lord is going to give the nation of Israel, the heathen, for a possession. All right? So I'll end it off there. In closing, I'd like to give all honor, glory, praise to our Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Kakwadash. Double honor to our apostles and others, great most and taught us truth and well and true, all the true leaders of the nation of Israel. And to the elect, I say shalom. On to the next one.